begin what I hope is a talk that all listeners might like. First, to a chronological summary of philosophy, for which Plato said, we should all strive to engage in the highest form of human activity, which is philosophical thinking about truth, happiness, justice, beauty, and the other nobler ideals. Well, okay, but perhaps we must balance that with doing what we must to survive in today's hectic and contingent world. Either way, here's a pragmatic chronology of philosophy. Pre-Socratic philosophers like Heraclitus and Pythagoras, who worried about being versus becoming. Then the big three of Greece's golden age, that's Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, who divided reality into the world of ideals and the world of matter. After them came other schools of philosophy, such as Epicureanism, Stoicism, Cynicism, and Sophicism. From there we move to the religious philosophers who tried to reconcile the Bible or the Quran with Plato. St. Augustine, Boethius, Moses Maimonides, and Muhammad figure here. Then to the Middle Ages, also known as the Dark Ages, and the philosophers such as St. Thomas Aquinas and Averroes, who tried to reconcile Aristotle with the latest religious thinking. And then to the Renaissance philosophers like Spinoza, Roger Bacon, and Descartes, soon followed by the Enlightenment or modern philosophers. Think Francis Bacon, Kant, Hume, Berkeley, and Nietzsche. And then to the morass of today's postmodern philosophies, such as phenomenalism, romanticism, pragmatism, existentialism, relativism, nihilism, deconstructionism, to name the most prominent. You can read their original writings, but if you do, be prepared for writing styles, especially for books written long ago, unfamiliar to modern reader sensibilities, and for sentences including invented words that often obscure meaning. But a postmodern philosophy is now emerging that adjusts the best, and of course, best is a relative term. Well, it adjusts the best from modern philosophy. You might like to read a bit about philosophers such as Hume, Locke, Smith, and Darwin that support much of the Enlightenment thinking. Topics such as freedom and liberty, democracy and equality, individual rights, progress, the perfectibility of man, and the pursuit of happiness. If you do, you will find reasons for optimism. Next, let's turn to Ray Dalio and his book, Principles. Ray Dalio, coming from a baby boomer, middle-class American family, built an investment company powerhouse. His book describes first how his background led to his personal and business principles that allowed him great success. And he tells us not to focus on him or his accomplishments, but instead on the principles that he didn't invent, but discovered along the way. I read the book, which at 550 pages is a brick of a book, but an enjoyable read nonetheless, because the author's writing style and wisdom shines through. I have read many self-help books, and I find many of their points in this one. Good to Great and The 1 Minute Manager are two self-help books that come to mind. And Dalio's book contains summary pages that give bullet point summaries of his points of wisdom. For example, Here's his 5-step process you can use to get more out of life. 1. Have clear goals. 2. Identify but don't tolerate the problems standing in the way of your achieving these goals. 3. Accurately diagnose the problems to get at their root causes. 4. Design plans to get around them. And 5. Do what is necessary to push these designs through to results. You might like skimming the book, and if you do, I think you'll find many common sense principles you already know and will enjoy this refresher. And now to current events. C.S. Lewis, a late 19th and early 20th century philosopher and writer, for example, he wrote the Narnia Chronicles. Well, his book, The Abolition of Man, warns how men without chests, and by that he means men without heart or feeling for others, how men without chests will lead to an unthinking, uncaring society. I'll pick 3 topics that dominate current event news. First, the Ukrainian war. Listening to President Zelensky's address to Congress, I found both its content and its form inspiring. It showed how the best characteristics of being merely human can lead the world forward. Next, the climate change. Though the issues for and against are hotly contested, the world appears to have started walking on a path to the future that balances costs and benefits. And finally, to American politics. 2023 promises a lot of fireworks, but what we are seeing is an American people willing to engage in the debate, balancing American exceptionalism against the contexts in which actions take place. There is much more to say for anything I touched on above, but I will leave that for you and your friends to discuss if you wish. And best wishes from me to all of you for 2023.